With great sense of delight, I welcome you to a fresh edition of your News and Current Affairs program, your weekend show, Politics Today, that features simultaneously on independent television and radio at this time. What do? We look at issues concerning the polity and how to bring about respite in the direction of the citizens. And basically, we look at criticizing the government constructively and finding lasting solutions to the problems that is bedeviling the country as a nation. My name is Philip Omo-Gyupo, and we're going to be looking at two topics as we hit the ground running, looking at the need to delve into the revenue mobilization, allocation, and fiscal commission's review of salary as they propose 114% increase in the emoluments of public office holders. And by that, the office of the president, for instance, that is receiving 3.25 or 3.5 million at present, with this 114% increase as proposed by the Revenue Allocation and Mobilization Fiscal Commission, it becomes 8 million. Of course, and a corresponding increase in that of the vice president's office, that of the governor and the deputy, and of course, the lawmakers both at the state and federal level, and so on and so forth. And what does this translate to? Well, there could be the implications of the challenges faced by Nigerian workers, not just Nigerian workers, looking at Nigerians, cutting across various spheres, that are really feeling the crunch of the removal of fuel subsidy. And it's only right, for the government to look in that direction and weigh it in the balance, which is more important or significant in terms of ameliorating the plights as they are placed at priority level. Discussing this vital topic with me, I have the convener of the Edo Citizens Forum, also known as the Voice of the Commoners. He is a public affairs analyst, and he is Comrade Prince Roy Oribabo. Thanks for joining me, Prince.
Thank you for having me.
Well, as the show progresses, it is expected that you turn in your response by calling us on the number that will be writing on the screen. And of course, for our listeners on independent radio, we will be calling out, verbalize, in order for you to join. And we always say this, your opinion is yours and not that of the station. But it's also expedient that you, are decent in language, in your use of words as you partake on this edition. Don't forget, as we also tie along, we will be looking at issues concerning Edo commissioners and the aspect of setting an agenda for the new commissioners that have been inaugurated into office on the 13th of June, precisely Tuesday last week. And there is need to set an agenda in respect of hitting the ground running and, of course, sustaining the efforts of the government in ameliorating the plights of the Edo citizens just now. Well, without wasting much time, let's hit the ground running and looking at the salary review as proposed by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation Fiscal Commission. What do you make of this? Do you see this as coming right in the right time? Do you see it as really targeting the right audience as we have the challenges amidst the fuel subsidy removal that is facing Nigerians?
Yeah, to me, when I received that news, I was perplexed. I was thinking that at this material time, what is wrong with our government? That was my first thinking. And I was wondering, where are they headed to? How do you arrive at 114% increment at this material time? Now, the subsidy have just been removed. And that subsidy that have just been removed, you will agree with me that those personalities in government, they don't know what we are passing through now because they don't use their direct money to buy fuel. Why we expect them to even looking for a way on how to ameliorate the suffering of the people. Because I saw it, the plan, I don't know how they hack it, it's from the pit of hell. It have no justification whatever. I see no reason why at this material time, when Nigeria were complaining that Nigeria is seriously lacking in terms of resources. This is a country, one of the countries that is most indebted in sub-Sahara. One of the countries we talk that the last administration, President Muhammadu Buhari, brought it into the level of poverty that when Nigeria became the headquarters of poverty across the globe. Therefore, this is not the best time for the Nigerian government to want to review that their increment. Especially, I listened to a sister session, the man from one of the commissioner from the physical and mobilization office, who was defending that policy. He was saying that for the past 15 years, they have not reviewed it.
Since 2007.
The man was saying that. And the more I was listening to the man was provoked. What are you saying? Are you not supposed to look at the feelings of the people? Are you not supposed to be bothered about the people that we are not even bothered? Well, how about is even the salary of the public, those who are in position of authority? We are not bothered about their salary. What have hold us now in this country, it is the allowances that they receive. And you will agree with me that our legislator is one of the highest paid legislator in the world. Now, as if that is not enough, there is also a body coming out to tell us that they want to review the salary of public government. It was a show of shame, and it was a total disappointment. To me, it's just a direct provocation. They are provoking the people, telling all of us that we should go to hell. I see no reason why that kind of proposal supposed to come in at this material time. It have no justification under the earth, have no justification, it have no economic direction, there is no policy that is friendly. That's the reason why I say it was hashed directly from the pit of hell. And all Nigerians need to stand up. We must resist and reject that kind of offer. Because it's not in our favor, and it's not going to be in our favor, and it will never be in our favor. Therefore, it's a policy that all of us must reject. I'm very happy that the presidency, very just now, they are denying it, that they are not part of it. I say yes, they have to quickly do that because they are. Personally, I was provoked with that kind of policy. For the government to just deny is not enough. The man who announced it, those who had those plans, need to be sacked immediately. To me, I see that they want to put the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu against the people. You know, it is to further tell the Nigerian state and Nigerian people that the government of President Tinubu is against the people. And that is the kind of policy I see there. The presidency, the policy from the president was a matter of urgency now. Look at the faces of those persons and sack them with immediate effect. They have no business being in that position because they want to set the people against the government with that kind of policy. It is not this time we'll be talking about that policy. That policy have no bearing, have no economic direction. To me, I see no reason why they should do that. Of we benefit. Ask yourself. I took an overview of what the test of allowances has been received across the globe. Nigeria, those in position of authority, Nigeria position of government, they are doing well fantastically in terms of the remuneration, in terms of the take-home pay. But the people, nothing to show it. When did you hear Nigerian government? Have you been able to somehow correct the workers' pay?
Okay.
With over 100%.
Okay.
What about those of us who are not within the worker? What are they doing for?
All right. I think that's just a tip of the iceberg.
The only thing we enjoy for the government is the subsidy.
Okay. I'll pause you there. We're going to be extending the frontiers of the discussion, but that's just a tip of the iceberg. We look at the challenge facing Nigerians, most especially as it has to do with the fuel subsidy removal, and it's not really easy, you know, having this burden, you know, on Nigerians and how to tackle this. We have the issues of the NLC, the labor leaders are basically, you know, still slugging it out on how much will be the minimum wage. What will it be pegged on? Well, there are also arguments about if it should be pegged at 200,000 or pegged at 250,000, which translates to about $300, you know, monthly. Well, is that too much to ask for? Other economists also said, well, let it be pegged at 60,000 naira. We're going to be extending the frontiers of this discussion as we take a short break. Do stay. Thank you for still holding on as Politics Today. And while we had a break, we are opportune to be joined by a seasoned analyst, lecturer, University of Benin, and Director of Environment and Beautification, University of Benin. And she is Professor Stella Omonigo. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, viewers at home.
Well, we've just been greeted by the proposal by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission. over 114% increase, as proposed anyways, for public office holders. How do you agree that?
Well, I can tell you that it's laughable. I'll use that word, and of course it's ridiculous, even as they're trying to deny it. But let's look at the reality on ground, because the way things happen in Nigeria, you say something, the next minute you're denying you ever said it, even when it was on a full live broadcast, people deny, what they say. But, for it to have come out in a way, I think that whether they are denying it or not, is something that has been cooked, that they are just getting ready to serve. Or even denying it, that they might even have started serving it without, while deceiving Nigerians that, it's not true. But, it baffles me, because once upon a time, in fact, a few weeks ago, just immediately after the removal of the fuel subsidy, we were saying that since they had it in mind to remove the fuel subsidy, they should have put, measures in place to help people cushion the effect. Of course, the inevitable effect the removal of this fuel subsidy was going to have on the masses. We're just saying it, and the NLC said we shouldn't worry, we should all brace up for a grandfather strike. Everybody was bracing up for that, as in their usual practice, because they didn't even surprise us. A day to, or a night to the commencement of the strike, NLC came out to say that, that they are suspended it, they are in discussions with the federal government. 3 weeks later, we are still discussing.
They resumed the 19th of June on the discussion.
Well, okay, so they even prior to the inauguration, they didn't see any reason to have a discussion with the masses. They resumed 19th of June. That is about almost 2 weeks after the NLC proposed strike. Why do I have to bring out all this analysis? It shows the importance and the place of the masses in the sight of our leaders, with all due respect. And then, while we are not thinking about the effect it's having, the adverse effect it's having on the masses, we are not talking about remunerating and gratifying these political leaders who were already comfortable, at least, because the margin between the masses and the political leaders, is something that we cannot even imagine. It's more than, if I'm going to use the physics term, is more than 100 kilometers, the margin. And now you are not talking about remunerating yourself by 114%. Well done. You are not talking about the people. Now, the thing is this, what actually pains me is this. You did not call any meeting, you did not call for negotiation, people did not go on strike, people did not go on protest. Before that, these people you selected, they didn't go on strike, they didn't protest before this thing was lost and then, proclaimed or declared. Now, the masses I know that there are unions who have been on strike, there are unions who have gone on strike, and when they went on strike, because they have been negotiating over the years, and nothing happened, they went on strike to express their displeasure and grievances against the existing government. They weren't paid, and nothing was done. Even the present minimum wage that Nigerians are earning now, I remember it took years, over 18 months, before it was implemented, from 18,000 to 30,000, and then people are even praying that it will be up to 40,000. And it took negotiation upon negotiation. NLC this, and today NUT will say they want to go on strike, NUJ and all that. But you people, these people just came on board. Their welcome package is to say you are increasing their remuneration by 114%, not thinking about the masses. Now, these people you are giving 114%. They have official vehicles. They are not in charge of their fueling because they have to take it from their parastatal. Government is in charge of their fueling. Government is in charge of their logistics. Government is in charge of their health care. Government is in charge of so many things.
Then what do they spend money on?
Nothing.
Meanwhile, the masses that you're supposed to be serving, you don't think about them. You are still negotiating. You are still calling for meetings. That I said, the last time I was on set, I said, look, 6 months time, nothing will have come out of this negotiation and everything. And by the time they want to say, maybe there will be an increment by 50%, who knows? I'm just preempting. But because of the trajectory of things in Nigeria, it's so painful. Okay. It's so discouraging. And let me tell you, this is how I see it. there will be no motivation. It's not that there will be no. There is no more motivation. People are no longer motivated to even work. If you go to most government parastatals now, you see morale is so low. Morale is so low. Most people don't even come to work again.
Did you take a survey on that?
Oh yes. In fact, let me tell you, I don't want to mention where where I work as such, but if you go around, even in town, I went to collect my driver's license. I saw this everybody is pained. This morning as I was coming, I had a flat tire, and then the organizer told me the amount to pump tire. I told him, my dear, I don't have that kind of money. He said, madam, honestly, I understand you. The problem in Nigeria now, we all have to help ourselves, because if we wait for government, we will not all move forward. He said he had not eaten, but he knew that as a businessman, for him to be that broke, that means that people are suffering in Nigeria.
Okay. Let's get the crux of exactly what you're talking about. Are you saying that their emoluments should not be prioritized, or it should be after the government has met the needs, as per the minimum wage of workers before it meets theirs, or it shouldn't be prioritized at all?
Thank you. I like that question. Let's ask, was there any problem with their remuneration before? Were they complaining?
They said it's been on since 2007.
No.
And it's supposed to be reviewed.
No, let's see.
Since 2007, we have a space of almost 2 decades,
Okay. And then these people, we have been complaining, we have been comparing their remuneration with that of federal workers, with that of government workers, with that of the masses for a long time. That's the percentage, the percentage of the margin between their remuneration and that of the the common workers.
It was already a huge gap.
It was already a huge gap, where even there was a time they claimed that the salary of one senator could pay 58 professors of the university. It was on the papers, it was displayed. I'm sure, I don't know whether they can recall it so that people will see. So there was already a large gap. Now look at it, that this same senator will now have 114% increment, whereas the professor who had been crying and going on strike and hitting himself on the ground since 2009 that you signed agreement with, nothing has been done till date.
Okay, so what you're saying is that it shouldn't be on the priority list of government.
Of course, let me tell you, I'm very sorry, but the point I'm trying to make is that even in the Constitution, it is our right for them to, take care of our welfare. And a leader is supposed to be thinking about the comfortability of his people. A leader is supposed to be talking about the welfare of his people. Let me tell you, I always say it. If you are leading and your people are not happy, your people are groaning, you have failed as a leader. Okay.
I think we are short of guests anyways, because if you have to look at the angle of the politician, if a politician, although you are, but if a politician who is a government functionary is seated here, is going to express how they spend their money. Because we said it just now that what do they now spend money on if they can get so much fringe benefits from the largesse, they get in the office. But again, have we taken time to look at the meetings that they hold, and so many people, who seem to be on the neck of these politicians? Can you take it from that angle?
Of course, it is natural for them to always want to deny that. It's natural for them to say we need more money. Human wants are insatiable. And of course, you also agree with me that the reason why we are bothered, it is because Nigeria, in this part of the world, we are stranger to accountability. Transparency is a holiday. Therefore, corruption is so tall and huge to the extent that you don't know how to even explain it. That is our fear. If the system was working, what is a big deal about giving them an increment? But because we know that...
But should it be a practice? Should it be a practice where, politicians spend money, or holding meetings with their subjects, in their various constituencies? What is this necessary?
Politicians,
the way it's being done in Nigeria.
Politicians will continue to spend money, because they deliberately hold the people to ransom. They are not looking at job creation. They are not looking at how life would be good for you and I. Therefore, it's a shenanigan that will be designed by those in position of authority to perpetually hold the people down. Therefore, so that the way and manner you present it is not different from servant and master relationship.
Okay.
Where we keep on, with the people keep on begging them.
Okay.
You go to a politician's house to go and beg for money. Is that the reason why? If you are comfortable in your house, why will I want to go and beg a politician to give me money? If I'm sick, why would I want to call a politician? If everything was working. In a society that is working, if the insurance policies are working, there are societies who run on the welfare package. Then if you are not working, there are things you benefit from government. This is happened. I'm telling you about the earth. I'm not telling you these are things that will happen in heaven. It's happening. It's European nations. Every month, people are entitled to it.
Okay. Even if we look at comparatively, with the developed polities, though developed in quote,
yes.
The government functionaries, how much do they earn? As even compared to what government functionaries earn here. So, which seems to some of us that it's like an opportunity, to have a share of the national cake, and not necessarily to do your bit for the people.
No, naturally, those in position of authority, I'll continue to say, they have no regard for us. And that's the reason why they perpetually hold us to where we find ourselves. And that is the reason why they will continue to spend that money you say they are spending. Do you even know the allowances they are taking? No. None of us even know. They just talk about the just salary. You talk about 3.5, 3.8, not quite know.
Emoluments.
Yeah, as the salary.
As the emoluments.
Yes, do you know what follows? We have been told in this part of the world that some governors, all to the tune of 1 billion for security vote, and that security vote have no any account. It's their personal money. It's just for them to look at it. You are Philip Omogipo, see me tomorrow and collect 3,000 from me. Is that how they utilize the money? And that money goes to them. That is the reason why, because we are a corrupt nation. The system is not working. You don't have.
You can't say we are a corrupt nation.
We are a corrupt nation. We can't run away from that. The records are there.
You can't say that.
Don't pretend over it. Don't pretend over it. I don't pretend over this.
There's a need. There's a changed narrative. That is formed in a song for everyone to rally around and make sure that things get better. No, you can't say that we are a corrupt nation, because that includes you.
The records
that includes
all the indices and the index are there to show that Nigeria is a corrupt nation. That is how in Nigeria. I want Nigeria to work. That's the reason why I spend my time and energy to be here. I want Nigeria to work, because we first of all have to take responsibility of our irresponsibility.
Is there a nation that does not have elements of corruption?
That is no nature. It's natural for human nature.
That has zero tolerance to corruption.
That is natural for humans to be corrupt. If you look at the theories of society formulation, I'm a sociologist, therefore I can tell you that it is natural for everybody to have what it takes to be a deviant. But the law is there to regulate. You just saw it in the US now. The incumbent president, you see what the child, because the institutions are working, you can see the loyalty people expect to their country. Those who are serving us, do they expect any loyalty to Nigeria? Do they believe that they are even Nigeria? You are in a country, you are a governor, your children, none of your children is here. You are a commissioner, none of your children is here. You are not bothered by the welfare of the people. It does not. The permanent function of government in Nigeria, which is enshrined in our constitution, the permanent function is the welfare and security of life property. If you cannot do that, you have to for petition. There is no need for you. I want to save your work. I want to save this station, because I'm one of those. When we say Nigeria is corrupt, this are there. How do you explain things are happening this way? How do you explain it? There are things you cannot just look at the way and manner the president, the incumbent president, removed the subsidy. I have followed international politics. How do that's when you are reading a speech, you will just say subsidy is gone. Immediately he pronounced, immediately he says subsidy is gone.
People love their feelings.
It had ripple effects.
Immediately he moved. As a serious government, what you are supposed to do, there's already a plan. We have a plan for this month that we are removing the subsidy. And all of us, we suddenly told that let's remove the subsidy if that is the issue. Therefore, there are supposed to be a gradual process where after removing the subsidy, it's now you are calling for a meeting of the Labour Congress. It's not they are looking for palliative. Does that make any sense to anybody? Is it justifiable?
Okay, I'll come back to you. Let's have the reaction of Professor Stella.
I just want to take it off from what he said. You see, we're just trying to shy away from the truth, an obvious truth that is known to the whole world, even told themselves, people who are practicing, who are having these corrupt practices. from the recent development of people in government, we're not talking about the masses now because they don't have enough. The people in government, the leaders are the ones actually even perpetuating these corrupt practices, and nothing has been done about it. So once upon a time in this country, the Accountant General of the Federation was caught with 80 billion naira. 80 billion naira. And people did the mathematics of how it could be spent. They said even the 4th generation and the 5th generation, if they are to be spending 1 million naira a day, will not finish that money. And that is the one they saw. I mean, people in government, and this person is still working free on the streets of Nigeria. Nothing is done to the person. The person travels out at will. The person comes back at will. Nothing is done. They said they took the 80 billion from him, and they are still investigating. Till now, it's more than a year. And then once upon a time in the history of this country, some persons, you know, embezzled millions of dollars. I mean millions of dollars. And then when it was, you know, they set up an inquiry because Nigerians cried out, they formed drama in courts. And they fainted, and nothing happened about it. Some of them came back to come and run for other positions in government.
And
yes. So what I'm trying to say is that, look, Nigeria is not only, you know, a corrupt nation, so to speak, but in fact, corruption has been legalized, and in fact, it's not abnormal not to be corrupt in government. I'm not talking about the masses because we don't even have. And let me tell you, when the head is rotting, there's no way the body will be well.
I think it is better for us to say we are still finding a grip on tackling corruption in the country. Not necessarily saying it's a corrupt country.
The Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Is it not ideal?
To say that,
Stella, Professor Stella, is it ideal you say that we are still finding a grip?
We are not looking for any grip. Nothing. We are not willing. When there is a will, there is a way. Okay. There is no way because there is no will. People are enjoying it.
Okay, I want you to quickly look at the issues bordering the NLC, the workers, for instance.
Yes.
You know, not just the public workers or civil servants. You know, we have the self-employed, you know, artisans. You know, we have the private sector. You know, Nigerians at large. You know, that are still being that facing this harsh effect of the subsidy removal. Now, what do you see as a template that should be created, you know, for a change or an increase in the minimum wage?
Before I talk about the template, I want to question the people that we propose the template. When you are talking about NLC, we need to even specify which NLC. The NLC has been perforated by government. Now we have four factions of the NLC, and that is the problem. You know, in Marxism, the unions are the ones who actually, you know, front for the people, who front for the masses and everything. And when they saw that these unions are gaining power, they penetrated them and, weakened them. And before you know it, they started having factions. That's what is happening in NLC. And let me tell you, just like the Tower of Babel, until we all come together to speak the same language, one language, we cannot move forward. And let me tell you, government is actually capitalizing on the disagreements and the disunity in the union. And why would there be disunity? When there is abject poverty, when people see a little loaf of bread, they forget their conscience, they forget their brother, just for the momentary gratification. That is what is happening in NLC. Now, let me tell you, who are the people that will propose the template? The people who are feeding from the king's table? The people who are eating and dining with the king? People that we know in this country who are supposed to be in jail will now come out, they will take picture and have handshake with the president.
As celebrities.
You know, as celebrities, and then come out and say whatever they want to say. They use tongues. It's not a matter of what propaganda. They use tongues. We saw them. They were videoed. It was on the news. They use tongues to be harassing people. At the end of the day, instead of them to be in jail, they are shaking hands with the president. Now, who is going to propose the template? So the truth about it is that, you know, Nigeria has a long way to go. We wish Nigeria well, but like I told you now, the way it is now, even the unions now, let me not use the word, they are disoriented. Because each time a faction comes out to say, we don't even know the real fashion of the NLC. That's the truth. We don't know the real fashion because all of them are...
Before the pendulum swings to Roy Oribabo, which he's very, very, very ready to take that. Let's look at what figure is on your mind about the minimum wage.
I've said it on this set before, and I'll say it again. Before this removal of fuel subsidy, Nigerians were already clamoring for a particular amount, you know, through their unions. People were already complaining. That's before the removal. So let's put that aside. Then by what percentage did the removal cost on Nigeria? For example, you know, fuel was 187 before it was removed. Now it's 515. 515. By what percentage? It's about 235% increment, or 335% increment. So whatever minimum wage they are talking about, will first of all start from 335% increment.
Okay.
That one first. We'll first of all cushion that if it will take them back to where they were before 29th May 2023.
That will be a whole lot.
That is it. We should be logical about this. We should not be, it's not a matter of emotions. It's the reality on ground. The first subsidy removal was by 335%. Then you have to first of all increase minimum wage by 335%.
To level up.
To level up. To take them back to May 29, 2023. Now, when you take them back there
will be another increment.
Yeah, because people were already agitating that it was not enough. So you will not consider by what percentage they were clamoring for, and then increase it by that percentage. That is the reality.
Okay, but are you looking at the direction of sacrifice?
Always saying it.
Are you looking at the direction of sacrifice?
I'll
come back to you.
But let me quickly say this before I lose my line of thought. The masses have been sacrificing for long.
Of course.
The masses can hardly feed and even put their children in schools of their choices. Meanwhile, the people whom we voted for, who imposed or voted for themselves or whatever, let's not vote there. Their children are having graduation on a daily basis, you know, abroad. It's something that is known. It's a known secret. In fact, it's an open secret.
It's in public domain.
Yeah, it's in public domain. So it's not that we are accusing anybody of it. So the masses have been sacrificing. We don't say we will not sacrifice, but leaders, a good leader is supposed to sacrifice first. And it's in our constitution. Our welfare should be your primary assignment, should be your priority, not your own welfare.
They are supposed to be, our servants.
Let me tell you,
servants.
You know what is happening? Like I said before, they are gauging the press, so many things are not coming out. Immediately they came in, immediately they were sworn in, the first thing they did was to give them housing allowance of millions, tens of millions. Housing allowance. How many workers? My housing allowance is not up to 5,000. Then they with this new IP's deduction now.
That's monthly, not annually.
No, monthly. Then they now deducted. IP's is deducting over 100 and something thousand from me.
Or daily.
No,
the 5,000 you said daily.
No, it's monthly.
Wow.
Then yearly they will not deduct. Annually they will not deduct 100 and something thousand. Does it make sense? So there is no balance. Now, lastly, before I lose my line of thought, the people in charge of salaries, whose interests are they covering?
It's government.
Usually, they cover the interest of the person who put them there.
Okay.
Instead of covering the interest of everybody so that there will be equity in the nation. We are not saying that we want to earn as much as they are earning, politicians are earning. But we're saying that give us our basic need. And lastly, on this note, you know, when we have people coming into leadership, there usually a saying, you say, you know what, if you cannot take us forward, leave us where we are.
Don't take
us backward.
We're already backward.
Don't take us backward. Now we are backward by 335%.
Okay, I wouldn't mind at this time, even if you lose your train of thoughts. Let the pendulum swing to you, Roy. Let's look at the logical way forward, you know, for the Nigerian workers, in as much as we also look at the plight of Nigerians generally, and what do you see as palliatives, you know, that can be brought in to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal, because it's gone and it's gone for good, and various groups have, you know, encouraged the government, you know, and even lauded the efforts of the government.
People will continue to celebrate government in that regard because we don't have the details. We don't have the details because if you look at the issue of subsidy, you remember the last administration when they were campaigning. President Muhammad informed all of us that subsidy was a scam. When he came, he found out that the records, he even he doubled the records. You know, in terms of figures, in terms of data analysis and management, we are stranger in Nigeria. That is my pay. We don't even know the numbers of fuel consumption in Nigeria. Therefore, how do you pay subsidy? These are the issue. People hurriedly jump into conclusion that removal of subsidy is good. Nobody is even bothered to know the details.
So you shrouded in secrecy and in medicine.
You know, everything is done as if it's not a COVID work, that you have to be a witch for you to know what happened in the COVID. And that is how Nigeria has been governed over the years. What is the big deal about subsidy removal? If we are good in figure, we were told that we consume 60 million liters a day. And I've argued with them. That is not possible.
It's more than that.
You understand me? We need figures. We need, if we have the real figure, we will know where we are going. But because we don't have figures, we keep on doing what we are doing. Now, I am one of those, the first hit of the removal of subsidy. I run a farm.
Okay, but how do we get the palliatives?
I'll tell you, how do we get the palliative? We are already footing on the wrong ground. Where we are starting from now is wrong. We cannot, once the foundation is wrong, you cannot get something solid on it. Nigerian government, they are starting on a very wrong footing. And that's the reason why, no matter the solution you are going to bring, once the foundation is changed, there's something you can, until you go to the, now, the process and way that the subsidy was removed was an error. It was a fundamental error. We all agree that the subsidy should be removed, but it's a process. That process was jettisoned, and that is where we are. How do you reconcile it? That after almost a month, subsidy have removed, now we are discussing about palliative. Does that make sense to any reasonable human being? And that's the reason why, no matter the solution, no matter the panaceas that we will be providing now, it cannot work because there is already an error.
Okay,
Let me shock you now.
Okay, don't shock me.
Let me tell you now.
Please.
There is no salary work earner.
Okay.
No salary earner. If you are working in government and you are below level 12, right, you cannot buy fuel.
I'll come back to you after I've gotten the thoughts of Stella Omonigo, but not now. Okay. In case you're just watching, it's Politics Today, and we've been speaking with Professor Stella Omonigo, a lecturer at University of Benin, and of course, Director of Environment and Beautification, University of Benin, and of course, Roy Oribabo, who is the convener of the Concerned Edo Citizens Forum, also known as the voice of the commoners. And that's why basically you've seen him, expressing, on behalf of the commoners. But we're going to be taking a short break, after which we continue the discussion. But don't forget that the number will be on the screen. And as soon as I get it on the screen, we're going to verbalize it for those who are on radio to join us quickly. And I said earlier, please be civil in your presentation. We'll take a short break. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us on Politics Today. And we're going to be looking at issues surrounding the inauguration, of course, the new commissioners for Edo State, and setting an agenda for the commissioners. And basically, they've been given a charge to sustain the efforts of the state government in improving the livelihood of the citizens of Edo State, and of course, thereby bringing about economic prosperity in the state. I still have my guests with me, in as much as I also expect that you call in on the number 080-777, if I get it rightly. 0037. Well, I think we're going to be verbalizing it once we're able to get it rightly. But for those who are viewing, you can see the number rightly on the screen as we take this discussion from your end. So basically, we're going to be having your thoughts.
Okay.
Stella.
So what I was just trying to say, you asked the question, how can we, provide palliatives as soon as possible for the masses? It's very easy. Just like it was easy for the president to just say it, that he was removing subsidy. He should also say it, come out to announce again that with immediate effect, salaries or remunerations of workers should be increased by 335%. Now, when he says it, how they are going to do it, they will now start working it out. They will start working out, the modalities.
Okay. Sorry to cut in. Yes. The number to call is 0807 77 70300. I take that again. 0807 77 70300. For your calls, others. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I was saying that, you know, the president should just make a declaration for an immediate increment of or review of wages of the masses.
Okay.
Immediately. Now, how they will do it is not, it shouldn't be his concern, because when he also declared the removal of subsidy, how they were going to go about it was not his concern. He just said it, and people went into action immediately. So as he was able to remove the fuel subsidy, you know, by just a declaration and a pronouncement, he should also increase salaries by a declaration, and people in charge will go into actions immediately. Okay. We can't continue like this. And now, while we're waiting for callers, the truth about it is that this is how I see it. I fear for Nigeria, and I fear for productivity. The quality of services will drop, naturally. The quality of things will drop. In fact, where I used to buy bread before, if you notice, they reduced the size of bread. They increased it, they increased the amount of bread, then reduced the size. So before, we used to have a loaf of bread for the 3 or 4 in the house before. Now, yesterday, I just cut the bread. I didn't even know. Before I knew it, I had finished the bread. It was remaining just a little.
You finished a loaf of bread?
I was like, what is that? Then my children were shouting, Mommy, you finished a loaf of bread. I said, I was very convinced, because I know from the, you know, from the weight of the stomach, you know the quantity you ate. I said, I wasn't still filled, and I knew that something had happened. So that's how it is. I just used the bread.
Okay.
The quality will drop.
Okay. I must thank you for your articulation, and you have very, very, very endless thoughts, you know, to express the points, to embellish the points you are giving on this show. I must say big thanks to you on that. But let's quickly look at the agenda you have before the new commissioners in Edo State. As they hit the ground running, they were inaugurated July 13. I'll come back to you, Roy. They were inaugurated July 13. You know, June.
It appears
13,
it appears you have
June
special,
13,
you have special interest on
because they say ladies first. They say ladies first. Now, June 13, they were inaugurated. Now, what do you see as what they should be running, hitting the ground with, running, you know, in terms of the agenda? You know,
if I were them, immediately you first of all talk about the vision and the mission of the governor. You know, I know that the governor has visions, had missions, you know, and things that he's been doing. And then also, before they were sworn in as commissioners, they've also been having feedback from the people, complaints from the people, some things that are not, you know, well put in place. So if I were there, what I would first of all do is to make sure that I put the vision and the mission of my principal first as my priority, and then try to correct some of the things the people are complaining about in various parastatals. Discuss it among yourselves and see how things can be better. But unfortunately, what we usually see with people is that they're already excited about the office. Some of them don't even have an outer of what they are expecting, because they've not been given portfolios. And then people they've been given portfolios.
I'll come back to you. We have a caller. Good morning, caller. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Good morning. Tell us your name quickly and where you're calling from, and hit the ground with your contribution. It appears we've lost the caller. Okay, we have another caller. Hello, good morning, caller. Okay, tell us your name and where you're calling from quickly.
Okay, my name is Sunday, and I'm calling from Abuja.
From Abuja, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead with your contribution quickly.
Yes, my contribution is I agree with Madam Stella and the other of Maoga.
Roy.
Nigeria is in doom, and the way the country is going, if God did not help us, the country is going to divide. As far as I'm concerned for now, we don't have a president in this country.
You can't say that we don't have a president. Please. Well, before now, I told you, I said it, that you should be civil in your presentation. You can't say you don't have a president. Have you forgotten what happened May 29? Have you forgotten the inauguration of the new president?
That's a deceit. They deceive Nigeria.
Okay, I think I have to toss the line, please. Ensure, go straight to the point. You be objective. You know, you don't need to, you know, cast aspersions on personalities. You know, we expect that you have what it takes before you call us, and the number is writing on the screen. Let me take this caller. Hello, good morning, caller. Go ahead, tell us your name quickly and where you're calling from.
Okay. Good morning, once more. Good morning, Ms. Costa, studio.
Good morning, go ahead. Oh, I think that line got tossed. Well, we have issues with the network. Hello, good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Tell us your name and where you're calling from and quickly your contribution.
Okay. My name is Solomon. I'm calling from Abuja.
Okay.
I just want to talk. If you look at what we're passing through in Nigeria, let me say, it's me and you dealing with ourselves, not even the president or the governor. Why? Because he did not say you should increase, just like this woman said, I talk about the rate. If you go to the market, sometimes things you buy, you used to buy 10 naira, you triple it, 30 naira.
Inflation rate has gone up.
Is it one thing you bought in the market and pay the transport? Yes. Sometimes we deal with ourselves. We should come back to our senses and do the right thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Solomon, for your candid contribution. Well, you have the floor, Roy. Let's look at the agenda before the new commissioners.
I think before I look at the agenda for the new commissioner, it is also good for we to tell government the palliative not supposed to be concentrated on those who are working for government alone. What about we that are not in government payroll? Government must, as a matter of urgency now, look for a way to also compensate by way of palliative. They should collect our data and start looking for help to reimburse us, because we cannot continue to take care of those who are working alone and to the detriment. How many population, what is the number of persons who are working in Nigeria? You will agree with me that the total persons who are working in Nigeria in terms of gainful employment, they are not up to 12% by statistics. Therefore, what happened to with the rest who are not there? The government should, as a matter of consider us. And the issue of the commissioner is just mentioned in Endose. Yes, to me, I am very comfortable with the kind of package the governor have able to give us. It shows that we have a governor that is doing well. But my own concern about it is that I have taken my time to look at the personalities who made the list at this the commissioner. Then I found out that these are people of high people who I celebrate. Some of them are my personal friends. I've had an opportunity to interact with them. You will agree with me that these are very committed people in terms of a project. As Prof said, they have to come in to the vision and mission of the governor. They cannot be coming in with their own mission, otherwise that will contradict the whole process. But quite also very fundamental, I believe the records I have shown to me that we have 15 commissioners. I want to call on the governor, His Excellency, the governor of Edo State, to as a matter of urgency, if possible, as a matter of concern, to make sure that he raised the number to 18, so that all local government will be represented at the Executive Council. That will give all of us a sense of belonging. Everybody will be happy when you have somebody who is representing you at the level of
let's take this call, after which we join Stella for her round of points. Hello, good morning, caller.
Morning.
Tell us your name and where you're calling from and kickstart your contribution.
My name is Gospel. I'm calling from Benin.
Okay.
I don't expect anything from this government. First and foremost, do you know the special qualification of this president? We asked from the former president, it's a special qualification. He says we didn't find anyone. This very one. What happened in past administration? And what will the system will also repeat itself. This very administration. So we have nothing to expect from them. They are all failures, they are criminals.
Well, you can't say that. You can't say that, please. I think it's difficult to really manage calls at this time, because it seems to me that we are not getting it rightly as per what the rules of the engagement is like for us to have your voices on air. Please, be civil in your presentation. It's always easier to sustain your conversation with us by being objective. And you don't need to cast aspersions on personalities before you express. Well, you have the floor.
Yes,
Stella.
I feel for the callers, because they are being angry, they are frustrated. So it's a kind of an avenue for them to vent. Unfortunately, they are not venting it in the right way. So I feel for them. But don't also forget that medically it's therapeutic for people to vent. Maybe people should start thinking of creating a space where people will just go there, you just shout, you pour out your heart. It will make people to be more sane, because it's really not easy. And they're talking about what my comrade Roy said just now. Yes, the percentage of workers in Nigeria might be, not be as much as those who are not working. But somehow, we know it, and it's, it's the truth. It's reality that the workers actually, the remuneration of the workers, whatever happens to them, goes back to the masses, because they are in the market. They are the ones who actually patronize people, and also it's somehow, usually when there's an increment in salary, you see market prices will go up because they will have to get from it too. But there was a point he made that I don't want us to ignore. In democratic, the real democratic country, because I said some time ago that we are really not practicing the real democracy. We copy, but we don't copy correctly.
That's how we are developing.
We only copy areas that we favor us. But if you want to copy democracy, copy all parts of democracy. There was a time they wanted to increase electricity tariff in the UK, and they wanted to increase, if I not even fuel, electricity tariff. They first of all wrote to all houses, to all households in the United Kingdom. They wrote to everybody, telling them that in 3 months' time or in 4 months' time, they were going to increase electricity tariff by this percentage. And then for each person they calculated, they said your average consumption of electricity in a month is this amount.
So there's a disparity as compared to what is operational here in Nigeria. Just to round off,
okay, sorry. You know what they did? They started giving people palliative of £400 a month.
Wow.
To pushing the effect. They had not removed it, so they were preparing, and then they had not increased it. Then by the time they started implementing, they did not implement it once. They did it gradually.
So that should have been a prototype for Nigeria.
That is copy correctly. Don't just copy one aspect that will favor you.
Okay. I think I take that as your round off on this.
One more. And I wanted to say, when you are talking about increments of their salaries, what are those people over there earning? You understand? Do you know that our own politicians earn more than politicians in the United Kingdom, in the United States?
Of course, you've said it. You have 1 minute.
Of course, with the way our things are going now, I'll be calling on the incumbent president to have a department to example people who will criticize his government. Let government have a department to criticize his government so that they know the pace of the people. Not the people who are around you who will continue to agamalize to anything you tell them to do. Go to the street and let people tell you the real things. People are in touch with the people. But then you will have an ability to formulate a workable direction, a policy that will help the people. You can see the way people are being agitated.
Thank you so much.
It's a reflection that the government is failing.
Thank you, Roy Olivabo, for taking our time to be part of this.
Thank you for having me.
And big thanks to you, Professor Stella Omonigo. Quite awesome to have you on set with us.
Thank you for having me.
This is much you can take. Big thanks to our listeners on Independent Radio. Thumbs up. And of course, our viewers. Awesome. We'll do this same time next week. From Philip Omogupo, it's goodbye.